You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
Welcome to episode 123 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts, owner of Dr. Cool Heating and Air. She is a journalist and actually has a reputation. Jessica Salaji, and she is tired of everybody's crap.
That's right. That's me. Tired. Just tired.
I dare ask, how was your week?
Well, the legislature, we were recording on Thursday night, and we have one more day to go, so I'm happy. And we usually don't talk about when we're recording, but you said you were going to give a little teaser about what we're talking about, so. And the timing of such.
Yeah. As we go along, we'll discuss what's been hashed out as of recording, and of course, there's too much corruption and shenanigans to cover in one show anyway. So this will be Sine DA Part 1. Ooh, that'd be Kill the Bill Part 1.
How was your week?
I tell you what, I had an interesting day today. I had to start off with, okay, well, you know I've talked about this before. Like, my personality is very different from I am at work. Like, personally, I'm very laid back and jocular and all that stuff. When I'm at work, I'm sort of driven. So I'm up sending texts, trying to track down a delivery of equipment, getting men and materials on site. So we spent the morning installing a mini split system in an adult novelty store.
Mm-hmm. And
so
then?
Right there above the incense and rubber fists sits a head unit for cooling the space. And you do kind of feel creepy because, I mean, I need to be where the work's going on to supervise what's going on. But I'm just standing there where people are shopping for their novelties. Like, awkwardly, you know. Either staring straight up at the work going on or staring down at my boots. As, you know, and the girls that work in there are super helpful. What can I help you find? And they'll describe what they want. Oh, right down here. And then they go up to the front. So, well, let me make sure it turns on for you. They pulls out of the packaging because you can't return it. Yep, turns on. Here you go. Like, oh, God.
Oh, my gosh.
So, during that time, I got a text from a customer that said he wanted to go ahead and do his change out. So, we finished up there. I went ahead to the supply house, get equipment. We moved an hour and 20 minutes from Hiram to East Cobb to knock out another job. Turned around, went an hour 20 back to Hiram to meet somebody to weld a cage, because Hiram does have its fair share of crackheads and meth heads that would love to make off with a brand new air conditioner.
Well,
somehow my stressful is less than yours, because mine's relieved when it's done.
well, but yours is also, like, progress along the way. Like, you know that every little thing, like, you're still moving towards a final goal that isn't going to ruin people's lives.
Well, that, when I come unglued with people, they actually care and see what they can do to fix the problem. When you come unglued with a lawmaker, like, whatever.
This is also true. Speaking of coming unglued,
we have State Representative Park Cannon.
okay, so hopefully people have seen this by the time they're listening to this, because if I've made it my side gig as the legislature wraps up and trying to keep up with regular work to make sure that everybody knows her name. I didn't see the post until Thursday, but on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about the bills that she's referencing, but she made a post on her public Park Cannon rep page, and she posted a picture of it's just outside the House gallery, where normally in a time that's not a pandemic, there would be lobbyists and pages and interns and crowded people just standing around like waiting to talk to lawmakers, but it's actually just troopers dressed in blue and gray looking at the live stream of the House chambers. And she has the caption that says, "Clearly the Capitol pays the police to sit around outside the House chamber when we vote on HB 838, which has been overnight stripped to protect those who kill us. Shame! Exclamation point, exclamation point, hashtag shame, hashtag Klan at the Capitol, hashtag stop killing us, hashtag justice, hashtag we are done dying, hashtag justice, hashtag Rayshard Brooks." And this was actually, I was actually tagged on her page by somebody who saw this. Like I said, I came in 2 days late, but it really didn't have that much traction yet. There were some comments and some shares, but it wasn't anything as inflammatory as it was. There wasn't a whole lot going, and this isn't my first rodeo, so I immediately took a screenshot and then started my own reindeer games. And I just blasted her for her stupidity. Now, the fun part for anyone watching her demise over all of this is that the man closest to her camera is not just a trooper. It is Georgia Department of Public Safety Commissioner Colonel Gary Vowell, that she called a Klansman, who's standing there, and they're watching a vote on the Peace Officers' Bill of Rights, and like I said, we'll talk about that in a minute, but he's standing there with probably, I think there's 6 troopers in the background who are all literally doing nothing but guarding the doors because there's no public there. They've closed the Capitol to the public. But she called the commissioner, a very well-respected man, a Klan member. So I'll let you chime in.
Who's doing nothing. He's doing nothing. I mean, I don't know what they're supposed to be doing. She wants to hide behind being a double minority. She is a gay black legislator, and she thinks that she can just go out and call somebody and infer somebody as a Klansman. No. You don't get to just shrug that off.
And it's worth mentioning that every trooper in the picture is white. And I took it upon myself to peruse her Facebook page and all of her photos afterwards. And she did, a couple years ago, do a little tribute to, I think it was 8 or 10 black officers who had perished. It was just a photo. There was no context to it, so I don't know the specifics. But it's clear. I mean, she obviously is not a fan of the police if you read about it, but it's clear that she very much hates white people. There's no way around that, and calling them Klan at the Capitol. And so I put it out, and of course I'm not afraid of her, so I tagged her. And about 20 minutes after I tagged her, she deleted the post, which again is why I knew better and screenshotted it. And then the picture started going around, and people would comment on her posts and all of her other stuff on her page with the screenshot, and she was deleting and banning people like crazy. Just trying to silence
which we've
people.
Established several times on the show. You cannot do.
You cannot. And it's her page, but it's clearly a page. This wasn't like this was the only post about government. Like, it is her official state rep page that she puts all kinds of information out, and the courts have been clear. I even tried to tell her that. Like, I kept tagging her saying, you can't do that. This is why. Here's the court case. Nothing. She's just blocking everybody and banning everybody. And, I would probably let that go because I don't really care that much, except that she should apologize. She should apologize to these troopers, and she should apologize to Colonel Vowell, in my opinion. And, she, in a time where we're constantly hearing about how people shouldn't be judged for the color of their skin, but she points to a bunch of men standing around with their arms crossed watching a TV screen and calls them members of the Klan simply because they're white and because they're in law enforcement. And they had nothing to do with Rayshard Brooks. That was the Atlanta Police Department.
Don't you think that they'd rather be anywhere than they're doing nothing? That's the worst part of any job, is sitting around waiting for something to happen. I guarantee you they're thinking, I could be home right now. There's nobody up here. So what do? You kind of hang out and shoot the bull and watch what's going on. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Pull out their iPhone and start playing Angry Birds?
Yeah. And, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you want them to just back off and leave people alone, and then when they're standing around doing nothing other than making sure that nobody comes in your chamber and hurts you, you can't blast them for that too. Never mind that, most of what she said in her post is untrue, because, first of all, I mean, if you want to get petty, they're not sitting, they're standing. Like I said, the bill wasn't stripped overnight. It happened in broad daylight in the middle of the day in a live stream broadcast. It was for everyone to see. And they're not police, they're troopers. It's just, she's a moron.
Well, I was about to say, she's obviously unintelligent, obviously immature, trying to make political hay out of what's going on. She doesn't have the temperament to be a legislator. She just doesn't. She obviously doesn't have the intelligence for it. You know what? Never mind. She fit right friggin' in. You put 100 legislators in a room, and you couldn't come up with a 200 IQ between them. And again, this is attempting to play to her base. This is I truly believe some of this is the Donald Trump effect of saying the most outrageous thing you possibly can. Just roll with it, and it doesn't work for anybody but him. And I don't know why it works for him, but it does. Every time somebody else tries to do it, it comes off childish, petty, ignorant. So these are our opinions, and not necessarily those of All on Georgia, and certainly not those of any All on Georgia reporter not offering commentary on the show or any human being coming on the show. Let's get to part one of the Georgia legislature roundup. Hate crimes passage.
I mean, it happened.
Yeah, and we've pretty well documented it. This is now week 3 in a row that we've mentioned it. We've mentioned hate crimes legislation before. I was happy to see that my Paulding delegation voted against it. I told you I lost my ever-loving mind with the Paulding County Chamber of Commerce Governmental Affairs Committee. I got the email. I got the agenda, and I missed a Zoom meeting because I had them down for the last Monday, not the fourth Monday of the month. And the Governmental Affairs Committee for the Paulding County Chamber of Commerce wants to express its support for hate crimes. And I fired off the chair of the committee a nice email saying, "Look, this really, besides being garbage legislation, really has no place being in the sector of fire of the Chamber of Commerce." He didn't reply. He didn't say anything. So he sent another email out about how we need to support this, and I hit reply all. And that's when I decided to roast him. Besides getting garbage legislation, it is not the place of the Chamber of Commerce. We need roads. We need sewer. We need a business-friendly tax structure in this state. So then I get messages, on the back end, people, like, "Oh yeah, I agree with you." They don't say anything publicly. So then I get another reply all from the president at Wellstar saying that, no, it's our duty as business leaders to support social change. And again, I came unglued. I said, leave dickering over social justice to the politicians. Like, you guys don't want to debate me because this is what I do for sport.
I wish they would have.
Yeah, I know. I mean, bring it. I mean, you guys are outclassed. I mean, it's like, you ever heard never get in the mud with a pig? All you do is dirty yourself and the pig enjoys it. Oink.
Yeah, but it would have been entertaining for the rest of us. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah. The entertainment factor is absolutely there. So, then we have the Peace Officers' Bill of Rights.
So this is an interesting one that really came about at the last minute. I mean, not the last minute of session, but the last minute ahead of the vote for it. And basically, a bill, it turned into a vehicle bill, but I'll give them credit. It was at least law enforcement related, and they didn't gut the thing entirely like we've seen. But to give the rundown of it, I think I mentioned, that's the one that's referenced in Park Cannon's post, HB 838. It was supposed to just rename a subdivision of a state agency, but they ended up making it, well, one, to make police officers a protected class because that was in the hate crimes legislation, and then the Democrats said, well, we're not going to support it, and the Republicans wanted hate crime legislation because of Ralston and because of, purple districts coming in November, blah, blah, blah. So they made it a standalone bill, and then they also added all these things that are actually departmental policies in most places outside of the city of Atlanta when it comes to when an officer is interrogated, or the rights that an officer has when being, investigated for something that's related to a job duty. And so this one passed pretty much along party lines. The Democrats were against it because they didn't want police to be a protected class. And actually, one lawmaker actually said that it was disrespectful to pass the bill while Rayshard Brooks was being laid to rest at his funeral, which I thought was really ironic because it was really just politicizing it even more, the funeral and the bill, because whether she's a Democrat, so she wouldn't have supported the bill whether it was his funeral or not. She wasn't going to give cops any type of recognition under the law. It did things like, or it does things like, the interrogation has to happen at the command center or the headquarters. The officer has to be informed of what he's being investigated for before the interrogation begins. If he wants an attorney there, he or she can have one there. They have to be informed of all their rights. Like I said, most of these things are things that are policies in upstanding agencies, or agencies that are at least trying to go by the book and by the law. My favorite part about it was that the Southern Center for Human Rights opposed the legislation because they said it gave preferential treatment to officers because they were allowed to be interrogated while on duty. They would be paid while they were being interrogated. The ironic part is that if an officer is interrogated, like right after an officer-involved shooting, they try to talk to you right away. And if you were in an officer-involved shooting, then you're on duty. And so right away would be while you're still on duty. So it's just so much conflict and so much, like, let me just be ticked off about something right now, but not really be concerned about how that's, or whether or not that's consistent. I didn't really have a problem with the bill one way or the other. And I'm sorry, I just want to say one more thing, but it's not the bill that I have a problem with, because they're already doing most of these things anyway. And I think that making police officers a protected class is a slap in the face to the people who support the hate crime. And at this point, I'm just like, screw it, do it. But in the bill, they made it so that complaints that are filed, you have to have a complaint process at an agency, and those complaints are sealed, and as is their investigation under the Open Records Act, which I don't really have a problem with if something is unfounded, but I have a problem with because we'll never be able to know if somebody had a founded complaint and then nothing was done about it because there was no disciplinary action because we can't get the complaints.
Well, in the Rayshard Brooks video, we do see that I think it was a sergeant who walked up and says, "Are you okay?" And he's talking to the shooter. He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." He goes, "I don't want you to tell me what happened. Have you talked to your rep yet?" So a lot of this was already going on. The inside baseball is what I don't like about it. Is to remove this from the hate crimes legislation because you need Democrat votes because there are a heavy portion of dark red districts that were not going to vote for it. So I had to remove that from the bill because I think they tried to add this in as a sweetener to get those deep red districts in, and it didn't work. So what they did is they pulled it out, stuffed it in another bill, and then all those deep red, well, they certainly can't be seen voting against something for law enforcement because they all have their campaign flyers with them standing next to a first responder. Well, that's the first thing that a primary challenger will pull out in 2 years is that you voted against that peace officer's Bill of Rights and that you don't support law enforcement. So I think it's really disingenuous to vote against hate crimes bill because you don't believe there should be a protected class of citizen and then turn around and vote for the peace officer's Bill of Rights because they need to be a protected class of citizen.
I mean,
look, you.
Yes, I mean, I
know. I mean, look, you either have that principle or you don't. Either the principle is
that's right.
We're all due equal protection under the law, or you believe that there need to be protected classes, and if that's where you are, but look, both sides of this issue are inconsistent. The Democrats who voted for the hate crimes because it protects race and sexuality and everything else, but would not vote for it because of their peace officers, they're just as inconsistent as the red is.
Well, and when I was doing my policy analysis for this and the hate crimes bill, they were obviously on the same day, and a couple of them asked me like, what would you do? And I'm like, well, you're voting on hate crimes first, and if they pass hate crimes, you should pass this because you want to break people into classes, break them into as many classes as you possibly can then, if that's how you're going to do it. Otherwise, vote no on both of them and have some dang principles because we're all individuals.
Yeah, and
of course, my people listen to me, but
it's not that. It becomes inside baseball here. Is that Ralston would let you get away with voting against the hate crimes as long as he was going to get the hate crimes legislation passed. But he was not going to let you vote against the peace officers bill and have it fail. If it comes to the floor, it's expected to pass.
Right. That's right. That's why they have whips, because they want to count the votes before they bring it, because they don't want to risk something failing because it doesn't look good when Republicans aren't united or when they don't have the votes to make something pass. And it's such a bunch of crap. I freaking hate them.
Yeah, and it's the horse trading that they do. It's the theater that they do. Is we all know, like, look, I can't. I have to go back to my constituents and say I voted against this. I can't. So, yeah, the whip goes to somebody else. Okay, well, you're in a purple district. Yeah, I can give you my vote.
That's exactly what happens.
Well, I know it's what happens. I mean, yeah, it's not rocket surgery. It's collusion.
Rocket surgery?
Yeah. You never heard I'm no rocket scientist? I'm no rocket surgeon? No. There's actually a T-shirt out that shows a surgeon with a mask on working on a rocket.
What do you think about this bill?
I don't like either one of them. Look,
I agree.
You already have all the rights that are due a citizen. The police officers are of us, not above us. They are citizens. They are obviously more educated on their rights because they deal with it every day. And they know if something happens that the first thing you do is find your representative, is get your attorney, is clam up, not get into anything. But they have the same rights that we do. I mean, I don't know what this does other than allows Republicans to go home to their districts and say, we back the blue. I don't think it has any substance to it.
Well, and I mean, so the one thing that was in the bill, it had initially to allow for civil suits for police to be able to sue people who file frivolous complaints against them, and it ends up in discipline or suspension or termination or anything like that, or criminal charges. And that part was taken out. And like, regardless of what you think about that concept, that's the only concept that is not already practiced, if that makes sense. Like, that was the only thing that would have had them taking a stand on something that they're not already doing.
Right. Look, again, they're citizens. If they tell you you need to come in for an investigation, they have to tell you why you're being detained. Even so much as I pulled you over for going 60 and a 55, they're obligated to tell you why. I mean, this idea that a police officer is walking into work and say, "Hey, Bob, can I talk to you over by the coffee pot?" And all of a sudden you're in an investigation.
Right.
It's a solution looking for a problem. It's a way for them to pound their chest. It's a waste of time. And it's inconsistent with not creating a separate class of citizen.
Well, and along those same lines is for some, I mean, I don't really know how it happened because it didn't have anything to do with the police initially, but the hate crimes legislation morphed into, like, are you anti-cop or are you pro-cop because of the narrative and everything that's going on right now. So it was like legislators felt like they had to compensate for that and say, well, we're doing the hate crimes legislation because this big group wants it, but just to be clear, we still like cops, so don't be mad. Like, so now we're stuck with both sandwiches.
Yeah, but it's good for cops. The hate crime legislation is good for cops. In the course of an investigation, it's good for prosecutors, like we discussed. Is, hey, listen, I mean, you can plead now, or we're going to go after you for a hate crime. It's another avenue in which they can use against somebody that they decide is guilty before trial. I don't know that the Sheriff's Association was against hate crimes. I know sure as hell the trial attorneys aren't, and the prosecutors aren't.
Well, and the Georgia Association of Police Chiefs endorsed it.
Right. So how it morphed into cops against minorities is beyond me, because it sure does seem like it's a great tool for law enforcement to bludgeon somebody with if they're trying to get a confession, if they're trying to get a conviction. I mean, maybe I watch too much TV, maybe I read too much, but it sure does seem like a great tool to strong arm somebody with, because 2 years sure is better than 10. So we have casinos and sovereign immunity.
So this one, I don't want to speak too soon since we told you when we were recording, but as of day 39, this did not appear that it was going to move because they didn't have the votes in the Senate. However, I think it's important to bring this up because I believe it was on day 37, so last Tuesday, they in the late afternoon, they gutted the resolution language for sovereign immunity. I think we've talked about that extensively on the show, about how Governor Kemp vetoed the sovereign immunity legislation last year. You can speculate that was because of the abortion legislation. So what they came back and did this year was they decided that they were going to put it to the voters for us to amend our Constitution, which is one that I actually support, because the question would be, like, do we want to basically enact a constitutional amendment that allows us to sue a state and local government over an unconstitutional law or ordinance? We should absolutely have that right. We should open the courthouses for people to challenge their governments. That's like literally one of the things that we should have never not been able to do. One of the few good bills in 2 legislative years, like out of, I think, over 2,000 that have been filed, this was one of the few good ones. And they gutted it. It had passed the House, it had passed the Senate. They gutted it to put in casino language. And if that isn't the biggest FU, there isn't any bigger one.
The only problem I have with constitutional amendments, and this would be a good one, is who writes it. Because you can either write it, do you have the right to defend yourself against unconstitutional laws in state court, or you can write it as, should state monies be used to defend themselves from frivolous lawsuits brought by citizens? Where are you on casinos?
I mean, it's a complicated question because I don't really have I'm not necessarily against it. I'm against the way the state wants to do it and the big racket that they're going to make, and, you know, having this concept of 3 or 4 licenses that you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to even be in the bid, non-refundable fees to be in this bidding process that's going to be rigged anyway. Like, that's crap. So I'm against them because of what the state will do and how the state will benefit.
I agree. This is where it's tough to be principled. And I don't think the state has any business telling people whether or not they can gamble. I also don't think any community should be stumping for this. Outside of Las Vegas, there are no that I can think of area that has benefited from casino gambling. Go to Biloxi, it's a dump. Atlantic City, a dump. Tunica, Mississippi, well, I mean, a dump. Essentially Memphis. Outside of Beale Street, don't get me wrong, I love Beale Street and love Rendezvous barbecue. But go to any of these places that say, we're going to have this great economic boom with casino gambling, and it's a dump. But, you know, if it were private money going in to build a resort and do what you're going to do, I mean, I don't know it's government's place. I don't think it's government's place to tell you you can't. But I'm totally with you on the dirty cronyism of picking who's going to get the permits. Not to mention, Georgia will F it up somehow. They'll tell you you can build a casino, but you can't give away drinks. Which, you know, if I go sit down at a card table and I order a drink and they come back and say it's $4.50, well, you've got here's your $4.50. I'm going to go ahead and color me up. I'm going to go cash in my checks and go somewhere else. Or they'll do something, you can't gamble before noon on Sunday, or they'll do something stupid that the state always does with it. With anything that they do, I mean, some reason we just can't get it right. This is not a great revitalization plan for Atlanta. You can't just go take the what's the clothing mart or whatever it is downtown. The mart, yeah, and knock it down and go put up a Harrah's and think that's going to revitalize the area. It's just not. Have you ever been to Vegas?
I have.
If you get tired, if you're getting beat up at the tables in Vegas, there is everything to go do. You can go watch the fountains. You can go to Lake Mead. There's right outside the city limits of Vegas, some of the most beautiful country in the world. Go see the Hoover Dam. If you want to stay in Vegas, go to a show. If you walk outside the casino in Biloxi, it's like, I mean, coyotes and tumbleweeds going across the street. Sorry, what were you saying about Vegas?
No, I was just saying, I mean, that's not, it's fun, but it's not where I want my community to be. I don't want to live there.
From what I've heard, it's not a bad place to live. Yeah, most people don't live on the Strip.
Outside.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta's not a bad place to live as long as you're at least an hour from it. But yeah, they'll have their dirty little fingers in there. The gaming commission will be dirty. You can't deal with billions of dollars like that. And casinos are billions of dollars worth of money flowing without some falling into somebody else's pocket. Plus, I will promise you, if you go into a casino in Biloxi on a Wednesday at 2:00, you're not going to see what you see on TV with people cheering at a craps table. You're going to see people cashing their welfare checks, chain smoking, hunched over a machine, dropping everything they've got at the machine. Then and I've seen this because I've been down there for fishing trips, and then yell at the casino, get thrown out by security, and next day they're in again. I mean, it's sad. It's not the government's role, but it's sad. And I'm a gambler. I'm a poker player. I would love to sit down at the World Series of Poker, but it's a vacation for me, not a I'm going to go Wednesday afternoon and just go sit there. It's social for me, as if you couldn't guess that I'm a social person.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I am shocked.
So we have the erosion of the Sixth Amendment.
Yes, this one was a real came out of nowhere too type thing. I say that because I don't really follow the Senate, so I feel like everything that comes to the end comes out of nowhere. But because I've always worked for people in the House. But anyway, on I don't know what day it was. I guess also Tuesday. Senator Mullis presented a bill in rules, and he tells them that the bill is going to allow some court hearings to be conducted via video conference, even when we're not in a pandemic, and it would happen at the discretion of the judge. And he said that it's so costly to drive inmates from jails to courthouses, and from prisons to courthouses, because if something happens, or if they're, whatever the transporting is, or that it's very expensive, and this will save a lot of money by keeping defendants out of court. And he's right, it is very expensive because they have to have at least two people, and, it's not like the days where you had a couple cells off the corner of the courthouse. Like, they're usually not right there together. And I get it. It does cost a lot of money. However, you're talking about people who have not been convicted of a crime, and so I don't really think that saving money should be at the forefront here. But when they were in rules, Leader Trammell, Bob Trammell, he's the minority leader for the Democrats, he asked a question of Mullis and was like, I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, so I just want to be clear that this is at the discretion of the judge. The defendants wouldn't have a choice. They'd be forced to appear via video if the judge said, I want you to appear via video, even if they wanted to appear in person. Is that correct? And Mullis was like, excuse me. He's like, yeah, maybe, but we don't think that's going to happen that much. And Trammell was like, I appreciate that answer, but if the judge says it's not up to the defendant doesn't have a constitutional right to appear anymore. And Mullis was like, that's correct. And I would say that his exact words, I would say if you would allow the defendant to be the one to make that decision, or his lawyer, I'd say that'd be gamesmanship, and it would not be about what's best for the state. Well, Senator Mullis, you, because it's not about what's best for the state. It's about constitutional rights and the defendant having his ability to assert all of those rights to protect his or her innocence, and all of the burden, all of it, is on the state.
Now, we're not talking about bail hearings, because that's already done via video conference now.
And it makes sense.
It does. Sheer volume dictates that.
Yeah.
I will say, our new sheriff's office and jail will be connected to the courthouse, and it will be
I think that's great.
A walk. It's one of the things that Sheriff Gulledge wanted was even it's as much as he appreciates being a proper steward of the taxpayer funds, but just for his manpower alone of being able to walk a prisoner over and have them and they have little cells in our new courthouse too, but walk them over and then walk them back, rather than having to put deputies on the road and all that stuff, and the time and just manpower necessary. So these are actual court proceedings that they're going to have him on video conference. So
yes, and this language excludes the trial. So for a trial, you would still be able to be there, but for any, you have preliminary hearings that either can come before or after a bond hearing. There's motions. There's all kinds of things. And this also would apply to witnesses. So if a judge were to say, well, I just want that witness to appear via video, the witness wouldn't be able to testify in front of the court or anybody else, which, I mean, we've all seen compelling, and there's nobody who hasn't seen compelling witness testimony. There's times when you want to see that emotion in person, if it's, you know, about safety or a victim or whatever the case may be.
Well, it's not even...
But the witness also has rights. We just passed a freaking constitutional amendment saying they had a bunch of rights.
It's not just that. There's a couple things. As a defendant, be able to stand next to your attorney and turn to your attorney and go, what does that mean? Or pass a note to your attorney in confidence. Also, as now a veteran of Zoom conferences, there's a delay. There's a lot of stuff going on with sound cutting off, and you know, obviously, if the government's doing it, they're going to do it poorly. So you're catching every other word. You don't necessarily understand what the judge is telling you. It'd be like trying to argue pro se, where the judge asks you, "Do you understand?" And you're like, "I think so." There's a lot of stuff that goes on that your attorney is there to hold your hand a little bit. And if you're sitting there and a witness says something, you slip a note to your attorney for cross. Like, look, this is the way I remember it. So it's not gamesmanship. It's the game. I mean, it's the ability to present your best defense. And I don't think that a two-dimensional screen of somebody who's sitting in an orange jumpsuit, staring at a screen and listening to speakers is proper. Again, outside of bail hearings.
No. Yeah. Well, and it's like, if you think that it's too expensive to transport all these people, have you tried not making everything illegal?
Ding, 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 ding. We can't do that.
I mean, I'm not talking about murderers and stuff, but they still have rights too.
Yes, like, why do you hate cops and love murderers?
Yes, I want... That's right. That's right. That's right. All of it.
You just want Somalia.
So anyway... Yeah, I do. I want everyone to hurt.
Change Atlanta's
pain for
to
everybody.
Mogadishu.
Yes. But the wonderful thing about this one is that the legislation failed. Not once, but twice on the House floor. The following day, it was brought up for a vote, and Democrats led the charge to kill it. And then there were some Republicans who chimed in and helped, and they should be called out by name because there weren't that many of them. But Ken Pullen, Matt Gertler, Colton Moore, Philip Singleton, they all voted no. Sherry Gilligan. And, you know, one of the ones that really surprised me was Trey Kelly voted yes. And I would have thought that after his friend's going to go before the grand jury for leaving that guy in the ditch, I would have thought he would want him to have as many rights as possible. But he voted for video conference, so... He
probably figures he has enough strings that he can get him in person.
Probably.
Because that's...
Emery Donoghue voted no, too.
That's why you call Trey Kelly when you run somebody over, because he could pull strings for you.
Yeah, get your boots on. I need some strings.
Put my boots back on. Got my pickup truck. Yep. So anyway, that's going to be a big boom. I smacked the mic. I was so excited.
This one, it failed. So this is what I want to mention this really quick. I know that we're running close on time, but this is how stupid our lawmakers are, right? So the bill fails 81, or it I don't know what it failed the first time. It failed by a lot though. It wasn't not 89 or anything. It fails, and then they did a motion to reconsider, which would mean that if you agree to reconsider it, then in a few minutes later you'll bring it back up for a vote again. So it fails. They pass a motion to reconsider with 94 votes and then vote again like an hour later, and it fails again. Like, nothing changed about the bill. At least the other times when, they've done this, most of the time they change it or add a clause or take something out right there or have an amendment to add or something. These jokers did it twice. Oh, but Vernon Jones didn't vote on this bill, by the way. He just skipped it. He just stood there like a little twerp.
No. All right, real quick. We have SB 375 excise tax on vaping and e-cigarettes and nicotine products.
Jeff Mullis again.
Backdates the legal age to purchase and possess vapor and tobacco products. Creates excise tax on vapor products. Was a 5 cents per milliliter on consumable vapor products in a closed system. And 7% of the wholesale cost price on vapor devices and vapor devices that contain any consumable vapor product at the time of sale and are not intended to be refilled.
So, I mean, I know where I stand on this, but in the policy component, I told the lawmakers, like, you either think that things should be taxed equally, don't make a discrepancy between e-cigarettes and actual tobacco products, or you make you contend, and I'm not saying this is necessarily principled or whatever, I'm just talking about a position that's often taken. You contend that vaping is healthier than cigarettes, and so you don't put a sin tax on something that you want people to do as a deterrent to something else that is costly on our entire country and health system and everything else. I mean, but here we are.
Well, I don't agree with any sin taxes at all, of course, because I don't like any taxes, but it's a legal product. It's a legal product. You've already tried to clamp down on them hard enough that you can't, that is now 21. I guess that was the feds that did that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a legal product, and it's a product that many people have used to get off of cigarettes, to get off a dip. People that are, living a little healthier now, is sucking chemically water into your lungs healthy? I doubt it. But a lot of things that we do are not healthy. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, fewer people are smoking, more people are vaping. They see an opportunity.
Good.
It also requires stores to be licensed with the Department of Revenue, in addition to local license and other regulations. And what they'll do is cut down on competition. Like I could probably throw a stone to 4 different vape shops. I mean, it's because they're inexpensive to set up. They're small. They don't have a whole hell of a lot of overhead. They do now. That brings us to Senate Bill 359 by Trey Kelly.
Yes,
this is not by Trey Kelly because it's a Senate bill, but
well, he's responsible for putting. It was a vehicle bill, of course, so he's responsible for putting the language in the House and then sending it back to the Senate. But this was a bill about surprise billing, which is one of the measures that has been in the news, I think, since session started. How you can't just get bill after bill after bill. But it was about medical billing, and they changed it to be a COVID bill, obviously, on the very last day of session. And I take that back. They had been talking about it. It was Senate bill. This language was in Senate Bill 373. And there was, like I said, there have been so many bills gutted and transitioned into other things.
So this is a surprise bill on surprise billing.
Yes, Dave. Thank you for that. Yes, it is. So basically what they did was they changed the threshold for civil liability for businesses, healthcare institutions, and nonprofit organizations like homeowners associations to be a standard of gross negligence. So what's been going on, I know, with homeowners associations is they are scared to open their amenities and their pools and their gyms because the boards of directors could actually be sued personally based at the threshold that it is. So what this does is it raises the level before you can sue a business or an HOA or a healthcare facility so long as they took reasonable precautions and posted signs saying, like, we've done this, this, and this, but you are entering at your own risk or using this service at your own risk. And I thought it was interesting because there was it was mostly by party lines, but Carolyn Hughley, who's a Democrat from the Columbus area, actually asked in rules, what's going to happen to employees? What's going to happen to workers? Are they going to have any recourse if they get sick at work? And Trey Kelly said that it changes nothing about that. This only addresses like actual gross negligence of doing something that is completely reckless that would cause somebody to get COVID. But in terms of workers who go back to work, it would still fall under workers' compensation statutes and with regard to transmission and all of that, which I don't know the specifics on and how that's playing out because we're still so early in this COVID thing. But basically, the bill legislates personal responsibility, in my opinion.
Imagine that. I mean, look, everybody has the same access to all the information about COVID-19. If you choose to go to the community pool, if you choose to go to Walmart, if you choose to go wherever, you understand the risk you're taking. I mean,
which
hell,
I support.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I haven't worn a mask. I mean, I don't want to deprive the public of staring at this beautiful face. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. But I understand the risk I'm taking.
Yes. Well, we were talking before the show, I gave this a green for the legislators I worked for. I don't think that I don't believe that the legislature should be forced to regulate something like this and tell people the standard. But this standard is what should already be for everything. I mean, you assume a risk when you go do something. I don't understand how that's offensive. And the Democrats really made it really partisan. Like the Republicans were turning their back on the safety and health of people, and it was reckless to do this and blah, 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 blah.
Well, no, it leaves the standard of gross negligence. And that, to me, is the standard. Is I know this person has COVID-19, but I am going to force them. I'm going to force them with their job to go ahead and work. That should be the standard anyway, which is gross negligence.
Yeah, if they do something that is deliberate or truly reckless, and I understand. I mean, that's still for a court to decide too. Like that's something that is difficult to actually legislate what reckless means. So a judge and a jury would still determine that if it gets that far. But you can still stay home if you want to.
Oh, can you?
You can.
Yes, you can take your own health as your own responsibility. I mean, this goes back to a couple weeks ago when I started about getting my hair cut, and all the girl did was complain about being, the governor forcing her back to work. And I'm like, the governor didn't force you back to work. You could have stayed home. So, I don't like vehicle bills, but overall, the sentiment of this is pretty good as far as I'm concerned.
That's what I told the guys I work for. I was like, to me, the benefit of course I hate the vehicle bill, but it outweighs the negative and the alternative of just lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit.
Right, and clog the courts. So
once again,
we violate the rule of this show with the "Let me tell you why you're wrong." And that brings us to closing thoughts. I had a story that we were going to get to, but we just didn't have time, so a quick touch. Did you know that Rhode Island has a longer name?
What?
I mean, you do now. It is Rhode Island and Providence plantations. And they are trying to drop the and Providence plantations, which they consider offensive reminder of the state's once dominant role in the slave trade of enslaved Africans. I actually asked a friend about this who lives in Rhode Island. And it's like, yeah, Rhode Island does have a very dark past with slavery, but the term Providence plantations has nothing to do with what you picture as plantations in the South. That there was essentially you're talking about districts. So people are finding the word offensive viewed through 2020, but that was not the intention when Rhode Island was founded. So now we find a state in cancel culture. Yay, 2020. Well, on the audible disgust of Jessica Szilagyi, thank you for listening. I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.